The board previously met in closed session under exception C1, C21, and that was it, C1 and C21. Oh, collective bargaining as well. Forget the exception number. With that, I'd like a roll call.
Ms. Fabian,
Present.
Ms. Lindsay,
Here.
Ms. Gonzalez,
Here.
Mr. McBride,
Present.
Ms. Hannah, President Ewing.
Here.
You forgot me.
Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Riddle.
Present.
So we do have a quorum and all board members are present. With that, have a motion to go into open session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Riddle, second by Ms. Gonzalez. All in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. We are now in open session. Did you have someone here? Let's talk offline about that, but we will. I think it's a good idea. With that, I'm going to ask Mr. Cosgrove, if you'd be so kind as to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, that's not Mr. Cosgrove. I
I was like, wait a second.
because you spoke up, Ms. Vukovic, you go ahead. To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Not really.
So we do have a president's report, if we can get that on the screen. First off, I want to thank all of you for coming out, as well as those that are watching online or those that will watch later. The board had our reorganization meeting last Wednesday, and so this is the first official board meeting, and we do have all our board members present. So I just want to review some quick things if we go back one. This is our mission and vision. We are currently in the process of reviewing our strategic plan, but for now, this is what we have and what has guided us for the last few years. Next screen. This is the unity purpose statement. We affirm the unique role of public education, whereby each community collectively pools its resources for the common good through the education of its students. Therefore, we seek to uphold and improve public education for our community. The items are listed there where we want to build trust and move the district forward. We want to become an effective team. We want to understand our individual jobs and collective responsibilities. We want to be a team with a common, focused direction. We want to create a district culture that supports positive change, and we want to perpetuate a positive district culture that survives in the face of board member and staff turnover. Next slide. One back, one. Behavior expectations. So start with the common belief that everyone has good intentions. Create a safe environment for the productive exchange of ideas. Sincerely listen and seek to understand the viewpoints of others. Solve problems through a collaborative process where all participants support the decision and actively work towards its implementation. Board members will adhere to these board protocols and hold each other accountable and support one another. The governance team will not disparage fellow board members of the team. This is what I'm asking for is a moment of silence. Today we laid a previous student to rest, Mr. Brown, who passed away from all reports being a public servant. You know, see something, do something, and unfortunately, due to the abundance of guns in our nation, he lost his life. And that funeral was at Shiloh Baptist Church today. And then we all are aware of, and I don't want to butcher the last name, but Miss Colazo, I'm sorry for the pronunciation, who was shot in Waukegan over the weekend. She was a wild counselor as well as the boys' volleyball assistant coach. So if you guys will join me in a moment of silence.
She also worked at Webster as a counselor.
Smith as well.
Thank you. So before I get started with going through these, just really brief statement. Is last week, and even on that slide, you heard me use the phrase care enough to weep. Our community and our school district is weeping. And while the incidents over the past weekend and the passing of students this year are tragic, they are not the only reason that our community is crying. Our students are dealing with a tremendous amount of pressure and real life issues that we are seeing in our schools. And if the MICFA challenge showed us anything, it's that our kids are crying out for help. Our staff are crying out due to their own life issues and stress dealing with increasing student behaviors, as well as what many have expressed is or feel is a lack of support. Our admin are crying out because they are responsible for managing even more complex student issues, while also focusing on raising student core scores, while also figuring out how to engage in interpersonal differences, right? And what I am hoping as a board, and what my first ask is, we have tons of external partners and support that want to be a resource. We've heard continually, and even at the MICFA challenge, about students who feel like, I say, do you know who this organization is? No. Do you know who this organization is? Never heard of them. Well, do you know that they provide this specific resource? That would have been great, but I graduate in a week, right? And so our stakeholders, our external partners are saying, we're here, we want to be a part of helping. The students are saying that they need it. The staff members obviously can use the help, but there still seems to be a lack of connectedness between what resources we offer and how students get access, as well as get information about those external partners, as well as internal supports. So with us coming to the end of the school year, one of the things that I'm asking to happen in June with board and administration support is a meeting networking opportunity for our external partners. Some of them don't know each other. Some of the principals may not know that that's a resource that is available. And so I think it would be a great opportunity as we go into this budget cycle to make sure that we know what exists, because we do have tons of capacity and availability and opportunity and successful organizations in our community. But we also want to make sure that they are collaborating as well. And I lost my screen. Important date, our Thursday, we have our first budget workshop. So that information has been shared with the board. Please make sure that you go through it and come prepared for what will be a very robust conversation. It's always a good time and is one of the main responsibilities of the Board of Ed. It is a very busy time of year, so on top of everything else, it is a joyous time as well. So I talk about weeping, but there is an opportunity for a lot of smiles. We had prom this weekend, we had festivals and fairs. I got 3 events on Friday alone that I'm trying to figure out how I can clone myself. So it is, for community members, look at what's going on. The district is sharing a lot of information, including performance nights and other things. So if you can go out and visit our students, please take the opportunity to do so. All right, planning for next school year is underway. Parents, register if you have not. And I would want one of my asks for the board members, those of you that are on social media or even in your own networks, encourage individuals to sign up their kids for summer school. There was a question on if registration was closed. We've been informed by Dr. Naud, I don't see him, but he may be in another room, but that's correct, Deputy Cesario, that registration is open till the day that summer school starts. So thank you for that. As I mentioned, congratulations to the board members. I do want to remind the board and any committees committees to wrap up the work, because we will be appointing or possibly appointing, some board members I'm sure may stay on their committees, but others will have an opportunity to join committees as well. So you guys will get a list of those and kind of make recommendations, and then those are by appointment. And we will seek to do that in June. Committee appointments. Yeah.
Mr. President, can I ask a question and suggest something? Where you have planning for next school year?
Mhm.
And I know that Edman is probably planning for next year. However, I hope that we are going to have some type of session that we can review this school year and review the things that took place in this school year so that we can incorporate that into actual planning for next year.
Yeah, so that's debrief or communication. Some of that you've been seeing through what's coming through with recommendations. But yes, we can have student achievement in June is usually the opportunity where we get the end of year test scores, where we do a lot of that. This is what happened, and then this is what we're thinking about doing.
I'm also talking, I'm not only talking about the academics, I'm talking about the entire condition of the district.
Right. So what I'm saying is that can take place, or in my opinion, we should set an agenda and figure out what that looks like and plan on doing it at the meeting in June.
Okay, because it needs to be done, for planning for next year. You gotta know what took place the year before.
So yeah, congratulations and committee assignments. And then I do want to make sure all board members there was a request for, not a request, but also it's a good practice to meet with our IESB rep. So the date for that meeting is 5:30. So that is the Tuesday. I told you. So that is the last Tuesday in May. This concludes my board members' report, and I'll turn it over to the superintendent, who has prepared remarks.
I'd like to give my condolences to the Brown family. And like many of you this week, I was absolutely stunned and saddened by the tragic news of the death of Neolis Collazo. Miss Collazo was a beloved coach and counselor who cared deeply about her community and its students. If you knew Miss Collazo, you knew how vibrant and caring a person she was. I remember meeting her 7 years ago during my listening tour at Brookside campus. She stood out that day as she talked about her positive experiences at Waukegan High School and how she liked her school because of how inclusive the students are. A year later, she volunteered to sing the national anthem at our all-staff kickoff event. Her voice lit up Washington campus dog pound that morning, and that spark and passion she showed that morning is something she carried with her as a coach and a counselor, helping and nurturing the next generation of Waukegan. This weekend news has left students and staff members stunned. It also left many of us angry. We have sat here far too often to talk about the loss of a young life in this community due to senseless gun violence. We must come together as a community and as a nation and say we have had enough. Violence is never the answer, and these tragedies that rip apart our communities every day need to stop, and they need to stop now. It takes all of us to promise to do better for our children, for our loved ones, and for this community. Before I close, I want to take a moment to thank the members of our district's mental health response team for their work, who they themselves were hurting over this loss within our district. I was able to witness firsthand how they comfort and worked with our students and staff. We are lucky to have such an amazing team who is always willing to step up and help during these troubling times. And my prayers go out for the Collazo family and for our community as a whole.
Thank you, Superintendent. We're now at item 6B, which is our student board member report.
Okay. Does this work? Does this work? I think it sounds right. Okay, there we go. Hi, everyone. I'm back from Florida this week. The drill team went to Florida this weekend, the entire week, to perform at the National Drill Team Competition. And I'm very pleased to say that we won big in Florida, winning first, second, and third place, respectively, in about 4 different categories. And I am very proud of my team members, as always, for the hard work they do day after day after day. I won't say much more about it because I know that our coach, Sergeant Nasser, will come next board meeting to talk a little bit more of what happened, pictures, videos, and all that stuff. But just wanted to start today saying congratulations to the drill team, as always. Very proud of them and what is in store for the next season. So we have, next slide, oh, there we go. Next slide, please. As always, I have a statement, and today's statement topic is about democracy. Next slide, please. Today's quote is, "Education, like democracy, is always in the making, forever incomplete, founded in possibility," said by Maxine Green. And this quote, I feel, really represents the student population. I feel that education is the foundation of democracy, and democracy is the foundation of education. We are always trying to do our best. We're always trying to learn more and being able to push ahead in any way, shape, or form, depending on the situation. And I feel that democracy, like education, is always incomplete. There's always something new to do. There's something new to learn. There's something to discover. And I feel that there's always going to be a possibility to find something new, to push forward and see what's out there. And I feel that as democracy, education is the same thing. And to a lot of students, they feel that the same way. Next slide, please. Old business. Next slide. As always, the Promotion and Retention Committee, as always, we want to thank Mr. Dr. Nault for the work he does and the committee members to find a better and newer solution to the promotion and retention policy for WPS 60. As always, the objective is to review and propose a new promotion and retention policy for WPS 60, policy 5215. As always, the student view is, it is in the view of the students of the Waukegan High School that the students of the high school, middle school, and elementary school levels need to be held accountable and supported in their educational journey. It's a lot of work. I haven't been in a lot of meetings because of meetings I've had the same day, and there's always so happens to be a meeting that conflicts it. But from what I heard, they're doing a really great job so far, and kudos to everybody on the committee. And I know that sooner rather than later, we will have a brand new 5215 policy that I feel students will really like. Next slide, please. Okay, the future of 1010. As always, for the students of the Waukegan High School and middle schools, there is something called the 1010 rule, which is a policy that states that the first 10 minutes and the last 10 minutes of class, you cannot leave the classroom. To a lot of students, we don't think this policy really is very efficient or very equitable because there's various problems with it. And I've talked with Principal Ave, and we have sent 2 questionnaires, one to the teachers, one to the students, both having very distinctive and very different responses as to the necessity and the need to have the 1010 rule. So Principal Abe and I thought maybe it's time to really rethink this policy and see if we could find new common ground with teachers and students, and having those stakeholders come and sit down and see what else can we give to refix, reform, or maybe abolish the 1010 rule. The plan is to have our student unification panel create a proposal to reform the 1010 rule and implement it for the 2023-2024 school year. And I was in a meeting, out of all places, on the bus to Florida over a phone call talking about the starting steps for that. And within the next 2 weeks, some students of the Student Unification Panel and I will talk with Principal Abe and AP Arias at Brookside to discuss the new ways we could implement a brand new 1010 rule and just have something that students will really just say, this is better. Next slide, please. Community spotlight. Okay, so we have, this was basically like 3 weeks ago, but as you know, I wasn't here to do my last report, so I'm going to talk about it. We have the Mikvah, I'm going to say, challenge. This was a very amazing event that I went to. As always, it's for the board members and the superintendent that went. This was a presentation about issues that students have with any type of topics, may that be gun violence, may that be drug overdoses, may that be any type of political or social issue. And as you can see in this picture, this is one of my friends. She is Ashley Velasquez, who is standing right next to me. She's the S1 for Gerald TC for the 1st Battalion, and her project with her friends right next to her were about gun violence in Waukegan. She had a very nice presentation, pretty great presentation about the gun violence problem that really affects Waukegan and alternately the United States. And she explained it very greatly, had very good points, had her presentation panel spoke really good with slides, with pictures, with graphs and all that. And to the other students, which I walked around and talked to, had that passion for change, for that type of revolutionary idea that we can make a difference as students. And I feel that this challenge is the basis to a lot of that change coming in the next few years. So kudos to all the students that really came here and talked about the issues at hand. Next slide, please. The Rooted in Radical Youth Festival. So this was a festival that I went with the Schuler Scholar Program to talk about, or more or less listen to poetry. This festival is done in Chicago at the campus of the University of Illinois Chicago at one of its theaters. And just gonna say myself, this was a very amazing event. So many students from all around the Chicagoland area and Northwest Indiana spoke about so many topics, may that be maybe social issues, may that be about politics, may that be about any topic really, and these students went above and beyond what the written language can express. Me personally, I was really stunned and amazed about how poetry and how students, some as young as 14, could really express the written word and really show their emotions forward. And I really do feel that the Waukegan High School and the middle schools could try to go to these events and go next year, I feel. And it would be really amazing to do something like that. I did give my contact information to the sponsor of the event. I haven't gotten a response yet because she was like, yeah, give me like 3 weeks because this is a really big event that we need to plan. I need to like wind down. I'm like, that's perfectly fine. So if I get any information from her in the next few weeks, I will totally give it to the Board of Education and talk about how we could implement this with students at the Waukegan High School and the middle schools, because this is a great opportunity in my opinion. Next slide, please. The National Library Workers' Day. This was also like 3 weeks ago, but I'm still going to talk about it. And I really want to give a moment to the workers that work at a library, not just librarians, but you know, the stalkers that put the books up in the shelves. May that be the people at the front desk, may that be the custodians, may that be the head management. These people help a library run. And as we know, libraries are a foundation of democracy and education. It helps students know that books are a light that can be never really extinguished, that it shows us how to move forward and how we could read new words, new types of ideas, and find ways to make our own from those things we read. So I really want to thank library workers, whoever, librarians and all that, for the work you do at libraries, because I personally really appreciate it, and I feel like a lot of people do appreciate that too, for the hard work you do every single day. Next slide, please. So this week is Teacher Appreciation Week. I first want to talk about, you know, all my teachers. I appreciate every single one of them for the hard work you do every single day. I know that sometimes we're a little too much, sometimes we just don't listen, but I tell you from the bottom of our hearts that we really appreciate what you do every single day. I'm ready to learn in your classes. For all my teachers from kindergarten to 12th grade, I appreciate what you do and that you are the people that make America a country that has the best students, that has the best learners, and I feel that all you teachers have a lot to give, and to the new ones that may come in the next few years. I thank you and appreciate everything you do. Next slide, please. Okay, so that was my board presentation. Any board members obviously have any questions? This is the time.
I have a question, or a
Yes.
comment rather. I'm really excited about the Rooted and Radical and bringing that to Waukegan. I know, at least when I went to school, we had a lot of slam poets come through. So I think it'd be great for us to give that as a platform for our kids to not only showcase their talent, but express themselves.
Absolutely. It was an amazing event. For anyone that wants to go on YouTube, it's the Rooted and Radical Festival. It's on there. There's a lot of poetry, from more specifically slam poetry than anything else. If you want to go watch it, it's on YouTube. I really recommend it. And I give the balance of my time back.
Thank you, Mr. Hinojosa. Next, item 7A is Spotlight on 60.
Little Fort has had a STEM program this is going on 8 years. I feel like the impact of this is something that is extraordinary.
Next Wave STEM contacted me. They have their own curriculum and their own strands, and the kids were interested into learning about drones and 3D printing. Once we were trained, we had 12 drones sent to our school and 2 3D printers that the students actually had to build first before they learned how to use them. It's just a great exposure for everything that STEM has to offer, and we don't have time to do during the day.
My answer is yes, because 3D printing and drones, I usually don't do that stuff at my own house.
My favorite part about STEM Club is probably the drones.
My favorite thing to do with the drone is probably, I really like the flips. So at first we were just like raising it and lowering it and flying it around the room. And then I was able to start doing like more complicated stuff, like flying. There was a course that like we flew it through a bunch of hula hoops out in the hallway, and then we were able to start working on the like flips. Me and my friend are making a TV show live action. We're saving up for good video drones that we can use to fly around. So that might be I might be able to get better at drones with that.
I prefer 3D printing. You could just make like anything and like it's really cool.
What we had to do is like make this like toy, this thing called like the Terratusk. It's like a made up animal that we made, and it's like its body was made out of glass. It had like four legs and then like big tusks. We had to like go into this little design software thingy, so then like we could like piece by piece and make like the thing. And then we had to 3D print it using our 3D printers over there. And after that, for the entrepreneur project, we had to like price it. It's $7.49.
I would tell their students that STEM Club is really fun and I wish they could join. It's the best club ever. I really like flying drones, and here we have bigger ones that actually video. And 3D printing, I've always thought was really cool, and you can make different stuff you normally would have to buy, but you could just make it.
They're learning problem solving, they're learning critical thinking, they're learning to work with their peers that they may not often have the opportunity to do so. And it teaches a good perseverance, because oftentimes things don't quite work out the way that we wanted to, or we have to have patience, we have to go back and figure things out. And so I think that to prepare kids for the future, this program is going to assist them in doing that. And it looks a lot different than a traditional classroom. There's a lot of movement, there's a lot of sound. Check out what I did, so we get some immediate reinforcement, but the kids also have the opportunity to do a lot of learning through exploration.
Kids absolutely love it. These are 5th graders that are moving on to middle school next year, and so it has also generated a lot of interest with our younger students. And so we're looking to continue to build this program until we're able to offer it to as many students as we can.
Oh, she's coming.
Go ahead, Ms. Anna.
Miss Copeland, you come up here too. Get up.
Yeah, you kind of answered my question, Ms. Grossman, in terms of the number of students that are currently in the program, and if it's going to be expanded to bring more kids in.
Absolutely. So good evening, everybody. So this was the first year that we had the STEM enrichment, and Ms. Copen is our STEM teacher. And so we were able to get her trained specifically by Next Wave STEM. They have their own curriculum. And so we didn't start this year until January or February. And so at that time, we have so many clubs and opportunities that happen at Little Fort that there was a lot of conflict, right? So there was maybe, 10 or so students, only fifth graders. But we are going to get started immediately next year. So now that we've already been trained in the drone curriculum and the 3D printing curriculum, we can offer that right away. And then there's other opportunities that they've sent to us that we're going to take a look at to see if there's any other strands that we want to get trained in and offer. And we're hoping to offer it to some of the younger, the fourth graders and the third graders. And there's so many different options that it's possible that we could have a third grade STEM enrichment curriculum, a fourth grade STEM enrichment curriculum, and a fifth grade, so students can really learn a whole bunch.
So this this club, it came to you from external?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
I was contacted by Next Wave STEM, and I set up a meeting to find out a little bit more about it. And it just seemed so cool. Like, there was a lot of stuff that we are able to do during our STEM day, right? During the day in Encore, like coding and, now I'm drawing a blank, robotics, thank you. But these were two strands that we were like, it's just so much to learn and so much that we could bring to our students. And so we started it as this enrichment piece. And so, like I said, we were trained, given the curriculum, the products. We have 12 many of those drones that you saw. We have 12 drones in our building. They sent over 2 3D printers where the students actually had to build the 3D printers first before they were able to actually learn how to use them. So really, just like I said, STEM is expanding in so many different directions, and there's so many opportunities that we just wanted to offer some beginning exposure. Like you heard, was it Micah who said that he wants to get a different drone and a better drone so he can do videos with it. So they were learning some of the basics, and it's already sparked some creativity and thoughts around how they can build on that moving forward.
And I got one more question for the grading of the club, or is that does the students get like graded? No grades?
No grades, just, yep, go ahead. No, please.
Sorry. So because it's an enrichment program, they're there because they're choosing to be. So they come in an hour early before the school day.
Oh, I see.
And then we kind of follow that curriculum. So it's not a grade necessarily, but as I'm watching, right, I can kind of see where some of the snafus are and things like that. And when I bring it into my classroom, it's something that I can reinforce or reteach or sort of see where someone might need a little bit of enrichment and differentiation with it based on what the kids have in their pocket for their learning, but then what they kind of need to move forward to, because they're all at different levels. And the really cool thing about it is when you're working with such a small group of kids who are eager, they're feeding off of one another. Hey, look what I did. How'd you do that? Go ahead and show me how you did that. And so it's like, I more or less, I teach it, but I facilitate it as well, because there's so much back and forth that happens amongst the children that they don't realize not only are they learning, but they're teaching their peers as well.
I do have to say, Ms. Copen, I absolutely love it. You can see how excited they are. I'm excited. And it was, this is what education is supposed to be, right? Like teaching the critical thinking, teaching the problem skills. There's collaboration. There's knowing you can't be perfect, because we have a 3D printer at home, and if those ports aren't right,
it stops.
Start over.
Start over.
Right? So I am excited that you brought it to the school and that you're spearheading this and that it's going to be expanded for other students. And I just gotta say, I love that the students edited and filmed the video as well. That's a whole nother skill set.
He came in and he was like, okay, I'm ready. And literally in 5 minutes, he had his title, his music, I was like, okay, you show me how that happened. So it was really quite cool to sort of, because I didn't know he had that in his pocket either. And like, I texted his mom, I said, you have a kid with a future in cinematography, so let's just, focus on this. But yeah, we're gonna make this video. They formulated their own questions. The kids chose the questions that they wanted to answer. They made their way through in a matter of, 15 minutes here and there. And I'm ready, Ms. Copen. Here's my jump drive. So it was really quite cool.
Yeah, I'm excited to see this go throughout other schools at all levels in different areas. Because if we can get our kids that engaged where they want to come in extra, we're winning.
So I just have a comment. If you're looking for extra funding to apply for the Foundations grant when we do it next year, we did have some previous teachers, that's exactly what they did, was the 3D printing. So if you're looking to fund, those are the kind of innovative things that we look for, and thank you for bringing that to the kids.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I got it.
Final comment. Oh, real quick, Mr. Gonzalez and then Ms. McBride.
Oh, I guess my question was, as the program expands, is there a commitment from New Wave to, basically increase the amount of equipment for the program, or is that an ask that you would in the future need from us to sustain the program?
So that's a great question. So we've now written it into our site-based budgeting because we know that we are committed to this. And so with Next Wave STEM, I work with them very closely. So this year we had to pay for the training and the curriculum and the product. Next year, if we want to teach the drones again, we just have to pay for like the licensing, and they replace the drones if they were to break or there's updated technology, right? Unfortunately, we know that in 2-3 years these drones are going to be like an iPhone 4. So I mean, but I'm working very, very closely with them. I just also want to share that I've also Dr. Vossel, so our coordinator of science, was invited to watch the STEM Enrichment Club, and we have offered it to other schools to contact us to just get an idea, and we're trying to generate that too. So we have, they're being welcomed in. So we have offered it just the opportunity to learn from us, and so again, Dr. Vossel sent out the email to all the schools, and there are pieces that are K-12, so this is wonderful for our entire district.
And one quick question: is there a cost at all to the students? Because that's amazing. Because sometimes that is a barrier for some of our clubs.
Yep.
And I know art supplies and all that stuff for like different classes. So it's really nice that it's available to everybody.
Yep. No, with our access to SBB funds, like we're able to pay for the training, we're able to pay for the product, and it's free to the students. And so I know that next year we're almost going to have to decide how many
Watch
students.
our budget.
Right, exactly. So, which is the best thing to happen, right? Is when you have to figure out how to get more students involved and how to chunk it maybe in 9-week increments so more students can have the opportunity to learn and play.
Thank you. Mr. McBride.
No play, not in play. We're not playing. They don't play. They learn.
I think your program is good. It reminds me of when I was a Cub Scout master, and what we did was we built pinewood derbies, we made boats, and I found that when we done that, kids found an interest and they came up with different ideas, and they just come up with very information on their own. But the main thing was they collaborating, they was getting along together. So as I hear you talk, I think about some of our high school students. A lot of our kids like music. And I just think maybe if we did what you did with your 3D print and your drones, we had a studio in the high school, I guarantee you that kids, because of the fact they like music, because I see them now on their own paying for studio time out in society. If we had anything like that, I think in our buildings, I think some of the things that where kids are not, should I say, they're not busy enough, and they're walking the hallways and doing things that they shouldn't be doing. I think if we had something to interest them, that I think that they would maybe do what we would want them to do, and that's go to class because they found something that they're interested in. So we're talking about little kids now, but big kids need the same thing.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
appreciate you guys coming in and presenting, as well as the going out, finding that opportunity, and bringing it to District 60. So congrats.
Thank you so much.
Next is our opportunity for public comment. When I call your name, please come up. I'm going to call about 3 or 4 names at a time in order to make sure that we move through this process. Each speaker gets 3 minutes. If they need additional time for translation services, we'll add 3 minutes on the clock for a total of 6 minutes to allow for translation services. We do ask that you refrain from mentioning student or staff remarks. I do ask that we remember civility, as well as we've had a few incidents where individual speakers have moved. The camera is trained on that podium, and so we are asking that you give your remarks from the podium. With that, the first 3 names are Wygina Briscoe, Yvonne Fulton, and Danella Villarreal. So if you'll come in that order, Wygina Briscoe, Yvonne Fulton, and Danella Villarreal. Ms. Briscoe, whenever you start speaking, your time will begin.
Good evening. First, to all the teachers, appreciation from subbing in the school. Some of our teachers are doing an awesome job, so I just want to say kudos to them. About 4 years ago, maybe, I came to the podium, and at the time, my concern was what was happening with the students here, specifically the African American students as far as dual language was concerned. And at the time, dual language was only taught in 2 schools, North School and Cook School. It has since gone to Oakdale School. Over the last couple of years, and I'm going to call her name, I know you don't call teachers administrators, but Lisa Ambrosia, right? So we have been collaborating with each other over the last couple of years because I have had concerns about our African American students actually having the opportunity to participate in the dual language program. After a lot of hard work on her behalf and us discussing it, I understand that the district has finally decided to move forward with a dual language program outside of just the 3 schools that it was in. That had been the challenge. If it was only at those schools, we don't necessarily have our African American kids in the areas where those classes are being taught. Now it's my understanding is that the opportunity will be there for the students to be bused to schools where the dual language program will take place, which is awesome, which means now our African American kids will hopefully have the opportunity to participate in dual language programs. I know there's going to have to be a lot that's going to have to be worked out, how to get the kids there, how to inform the parents, whatever it's going to take. And I told Lisa I will be there with her to support, to bring this to the community as an advocate to ensure that we get our African American students involved in this program. So kudos to the district for finally getting it done. Kudos to Lisa Ambrosia for pulling this through. Very, very, I 100% I'm with this. State Representative Rita Mayfield she's looking for an intern, and the first thing she says, you must be bilingual. Well, if we're not giving our African American students the opportunity to speak Spanish, how are they going to get the opportunity to do it? So I appreciate it. I appreciate the district has taken the opportunity to do it. And as I said, I will continue to advocate to make sure that this does come through. Last thing, in my last couple of seconds, I was subbing in a classroom. I think that maybe the district needs to take a look at the stipend that teachers get. I was in a kindergarten or first grade classrooms. What they get to support the kids, to buy things for kids, everything has gone up. And I don't think that what they currently get now is enough for them to provide activities and things like that for the kids in the school. So if the district could look at that again and kind of see what they're getting and increase it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Briscoe. Ms. Fulton, whenever you start speaking, your time will begin.
Good evening, Board, Superintendent, community members. Normally I don't write anything down, but today I had to. I had to pull this shirt out my vault, one of my old House 3 shirts that we made. I wore this shirt today because it was one of our last House 3 shirts, and what we as a house stood for and what I still stand for today. It says we do, in this house, we do real, we do second chances, we never give up, and above all, we do community. The only thing that I would change on this shirt is for it to say, we do chance after chance. Whether it makes the headlines or not, we still hurt the same. Our students need us in the school and out of school. They need to see us. Former students need to see us. They need to know that we care, that they matter too when they were in District 60. The community needs to see us, not just for all for some events, but for all events, including visuals, funerals, dedications, the good and the bad. I say this to say, today I went to Malachi Brown's funeral, a former student of ours. There was tons of our students there breaking down, young black men breaking down, trying to hold each other up. And they don't see us. I've been to too many funerals. They don't see us. But time and time again, we get up here on the board and want to have moments of silence. They need to see us.
Yes.
They need to see us in those stands. They need to see us hug them and say they mattered when they was here and they still matter, and we love them. They had a volleyball dedication for Neolas today, and not one administration was there. Ooh. Not one. And yes, I'm not happy because I'm tore up behind it. They need to see us.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all I have to say tonight.
Yeah.
Ms. Villarreal.
Yeah. Yeah.
First of all, I'm going to reclaim my time. You're going to turn my mic up or I'm going to get extra loud. I'm tired of you doing that. I want it started over. Gracias a por los padres por traer el desayuno a los maestros y apreciar todo lo que hacemos. Te apreciamos mucho. Muchas gracias, señoras. Concerning hiring practices, where is the scoring available on interviewed candidates? What criteria is being used to determine qualified candidates on all positions? Oh wait, you overlooked that part. It's weak. You sit up here with your fake tears. You really don't care because you have allowed and perpetuated the behaviors. You have allowed them to continue. And now we have another person up here saying, you're not seen. Save your tears. It's pathetic. We don't buy it. If you're not showing up to that young man's funeral, we're not buying it. If you're not showing up to her funeral, we're not buying it. You keep saying that you care about staff, but yet we still see the same problems in the buildings and it's not being addressed. Students have spoken and told you, and you're still not hearing it. And then you want to sit there and you can't even look at me in the face while I'm speaking because you're rude. You have zero meetings on your entire calendar for a year. The whole year, a parent can't get one single appointment. A staff member can't get an appointment. You got an administrator blaming another administrator, back and forth. We're going to dig, and we're going to keep digging, and we're going to dig deep, and we're coming. We're coming in full force. There's going to be more coming. More students, more staff. And we are going to change the narrative. If that means changing positions that sit up here on their throne. We're tired of it. I want to know why you have so many positions available, but you have a viable, qualified candidate. That one person had a minute in an interview, 1 minute, and you feel that that's qualified to make a determination after 15 years of service? I'm going to keep coming, and I'm going to keep coming, and I'm going to bring extra people. And I'm coming for all of those that aren't paying attention, that aren't trying to make that change, who sit here week after week ignoring what's being said.
Thank you, Ms. Villarreal. The next four names in order are Rayon Edwards, Kershana Hanna, Anthony McIntyre, and Randy Savecki.
Good evening.
You know, today was a rough day for me, and I want to share this with the public because we have teachers assaulting students. You caught me 10 years ago. I'd have been downtown Waukegan in the jail. And what I'm going to tell the board is I have a nephew at John Lewis. What I won't tolerate, what I will never tolerate, is an adult calling my nephew the B word. Do you understand me? And I'm putting all of y'all on notice. I fear nothing when it comes about my kids, because I come up here and talk about everybody else's kids. We really shield ours at home. Ours is told to shut up when adults is talking, to not to enter a room when adults are talking. Do you understand what I'm saying? Last week at this board meeting, we had a staff come up here and talk about what's happening over there in John Lewis. Deputy Superintendent of that area, I'm gonna need you to get active. I'm gonna need you to get informed with what's going on. To piggyback on what Ms. Fulton said, y'all need to show up. We done had almost a student burial or funeral, several of them, every month, and I don't see none of y'all. And we come up in here and we say a moment of silence for what? For who? Y'all? Because that's all we get from y'all is silence. That's it. When we talk about a community, and we talk about people being from a community and living in a community, I'm not sure if you guys know, but you can live in a community and not be from there. Literally. Or be from a community and not be from there. You're not experiencing some of the things that your community members are experiencing. You well off. You better off. I hear a lot of people say, but we don't get paid. We don't get paid. Access. ACCESS. Is worth more than any dollar amount you can get. Y'all have access. They don't. They don't. Every week they coming up here and they talking, and everybody keep talking about this HR, and we ain't done nothing. But I'm gonna remind y'all again, because I said it last week. KT and Mr. Coleman was suspended. They was placed on the board docket. And for whatever reason, it was snatched up off the board docket. And some of y'all know what I'm talking about. You could sit up there and act like you don't, but you do. And they was removed off of there. And then they was disciplined, suspended for like 3 weeks, no pay and all of that. Martell Williams was taken out of his classroom into an office by 2 district employees and handed to the Waukegan Police Department, Amy Oliva and Tasha London. I'm still waiting on them to be disciplined. Thank you.
Ms. Hannah, whenever you start talking, your time will begin.
So good evening, Board of Education. I'm coming here with several concerns. First of all, I would like to say happy Teacher Appreciation. Thank you, Mr. Henhoser, for bringing that to the forefront. I think that should have been addressed in the opening remarks with the board meeting, but thank you, teachers, for all you do. I would like to give kudos to Mrs. Grossman and her staff. Over the weekend, I was able to attend the Little Forts Carnival, and it was very welcoming to community members, staff, parents, anybody that wanted to come. It was very welcoming. With the welcoming comment, I'm asking that the board looks into staff welcoming community members to every event, especially those that are extracurricular activities. And that the community, once again, is listened to and heard with concerns, that they're welcoming, not dismissive, rude, and curt when community members are talking to them. I was involved in an incident, and thank you, Superintendent, for taking the time to look into it and look into it further, Brandon and Board Member Lindsay. If anybody wants to know what I'm speaking about, I'll be more than happy to elaborate and share. But if we want to change the climate and the culture of what is going on in Waukegan, we need to change the way that we are responded to as far as staff is concerned. If the staff are rude to community members and parents, students are going to be rude to teachers and staff. So we need to change the climate. And with this board being a new platform, a new clean slate, I think that you guys can demand that amongst the staff members. I don't know if personal development is needed or just email reminders that it's never okay to be rude to community members. However you need to handle it to address it, it needs to be done. I heard that there is something going on where they're asking for donations for cap and gowns for seniors. That's not okay. And community members, past graduates and that, should not be donating anything. And the board and the school district should be able to provide these things if students cannot afford them. And lastly, I would like to hear a superintendent's report. If we need to change the platform for staff reporting, because we have yet to hear a superintendent talk about the district, I would like that changed where the superintendent is talking about things within the district and not just staff members talking about staff. And if we need to change that for staff reporting, we need to do so.
Next name is Anthony McIntyre.
Good evening, everybody. So my condolences to those that we've lost here recently. Secondarily, there is, based on the work that I do in the community, I can tell you guys there should be, you all should anticipate quite a bit of violence this summer. Prepare yourself, do whatever you need to do. The crisis management team should be beefed up a little bit. That's what my information tells me. Be careful. One of the things that we're doing at the Ant-Mound Foundation to address that is to try and find different ways for the young people to be distracted away from the streets because they're not safe these days. So we have a couple of programs coming up that I think you all should know about if you don't already. One is we have a contract with the city of Waukegan to have young people 16 to 24 go through and paint all of the fire hydrants in the city. We'll be working throughout the summer. There really is no limit to the number of kids that we can use, so we've already worked with the high school, Dr. T over there. He's been responsible for putting the information out, so I appreciate everything he's done. Ms. Carter over at AOEC. She's done the same. We did speak with Principal Avi over at Brookside. I'm not sure whether or not she's had an opportunity to put information out yet, but hopefully she has. We've had, at this point, I think we have some 21 students that have taken advantage of this, and we get started Thursday. We won't tell everybody the locations that we'll be at because we want our kids safe. We also we have a mentorship program that starts actually tomorrow. We've been working very diligently with that. I talk too slow, I'm told. The mentorship program is very important. We are targeting African American boys. We have grown this to be also include our Hispanic boys as well, but mostly our males. It's very important that we tackle our males. They are really under the gun in the community at large. I sent an email to the board a little while ago. I would very much appreciate if you all would look at it. I'm very unhappy with what you'll see there. The board has to accept individuals coming up here and speaking positively and negatively. You got to take it all. It's a balance, right? No one should be looked at as some sort of a threat or enemy just because they come up here and speak their truth. You got to take it both, positive and negative.
start whenever you start speaking, Mrs. Becky.
Good afternoon. Couple things tonight. First, I'd like to congratulate Amy Grossman and Little Fort. Also, I've attended the carnival. And I'd like to see more administration at these events. Because Miss Lenzen was there, that's all we seen. And it was packed. I mean, there was cars all the way down the street. It was packed. You know, they sold out almost all the food and everything they did. It was packed. The kids had fun, and that's what it is. Number 2 issue, we need to do something about teachers being absent from the school, especially and I'm talking, this has happened at a couple schools, in my son's school also. Out of the extra specials, music, art, these kids look forward to this class. It is not the kids' fault that there's no teacher in that class, so they're getting punished, basically, and have to sit in their regular classroom and do extra work in that because there's no teacher in that classroom. I don't care if you have to put an administrator in there. We have enough of them. Put one over there to teach that class. We need to do something. Mr. McBride, as far as I know, what I'm told is we have a state-of-the-art recording studio. It's in this building. Kids just ain't allowed to use it. It's in this building. And another thing, last I recall, I stood up here last time and talked about the locks in the windows, and I got an email back from the superintendent telling me when I'm available to let them know, and then they can schedule me a Zoom call for me. Didn't COVID end? I'd like an in-person meeting, not a Zoom call. In person. Everybody else gets in-person meetings. I like to look at people in the face because I can read when people lie and everything else, because that used to be part of my job. Because that means a lot to me. That was my career for a long time. The kids' safety means a lot to me. I'm done with these Zoom calls and everything else. We can meet in person. And I'm going to back off Ms. Fulton. Not only at these funerals and that we need to attend, we also need to attend these sporting events. A lot of families and that don't go to these events, and these kids need to see us at these events. And I'm referring to, my son was on the bowling team. One administrator, Mr. Knott, showed up to one meet out of the whole season. My son's on the baseball team, varsity. We just had Battle of Bowen. Not one administrator there. These kids need to see us at these events. I didn't say every single event, but we need to start showing up at these events. You guys want to sit in these positions? Then we need to start being out in there. I was told by the superintendent that they take turns, administrators, at every single event. And obviously that's not happening. Because I'm at almost every single home baseball game, and there has not been an administrator there yet, besides the coaches coaching the team. And the kids need to see that support from our staff. We pick and choose, basketball games and all that other stuff. We need to show all these other sports the same, not just certain sports.
There was an indication of one last name, which is Robin Aronin.
Hello, good evening. I'm Robin Aronin. I am the lead social worker for the district and a 20-year member of the district crisis team. I was not planning on coming to the board meeting nor speaking, but here I am. So I just wanted to take a few minutes to talk about the boys volleyball freshman team. Of course, I was involved in the crisis response over at Washington campus yesterday, and then in the afternoon I went over to Brookside campus, showed up. They were making beautiful posters to display during the game today. Ms. Fulton and I went to the game today to provide support should a student, have some sort of emotional response. Understandably, we were there to support them. It was, sorry if I'm a little shaky because it's a little emotional, everything that's kind of gone on the last couple days. Before the game started, 4 of the young men, the team was all together, 4 of the young men each individually gave a speech about how much coach meant to them. I was very impressed, got a little misty-eyed during it. Their bravery, they were composed the whole time. The team was standing around them, supporting them. It was heartbreaking, yet it was beautiful to see. They had a memorial set up at Coach's seat on the bench with flowers and some pictures. And her sister had the courage to come and stand in her place and coach the team today. So I just wanted to share a little bit about the freshman boys team and how they're handling the tragic loss of their coach, just so you guys know the young men that we have in the district. That's it.
I gotta ask a question because see, this is about my daughter's, my granddaughter's school.
I get that, but can we do that
Board member time?
during a different time in the meeting?
Okay, because they.
Thank you, Ms. And I'm sorry, because were you done, Ms. Aronet?
That's okay. I am done.
Had a minute.
No, I'm done. I wasn't even planning on speaking. So yes, thank you. I'm done.
All right, and sorry about that, Ms. Hannah, but again, the public comment is an opportunity for the community to address the board.
Yeah, I know, but I just want to know if they were at Webster too, at Edith Smith too. She was there too.
All right, if we can get the agenda back on the screen.
They were.
She did let me know before we moved on, so Miss Nicole Hernandez, if you want to come to the microphone, you'll be the final speaker.
Oh, she got
Yes.
another.
Okay, so again, not talking to you guys. So I was at home in my pajamas and I realized that we don't have a music studio apparently. But from what I understand, we do have a music studio. And it's inaccessible to the children. So that's the first problem. The second problem is we're saying that the kids are running the hallways, but we still aren't addressing the issue with the credits. So I've sent you guys detailed emails about why your credit, the credit configuration is not going to work in giving children, it doesn't give children the extra opportunity that they're presenting. It doesn't give the children the extra study time, it doesn't give anything extra like they've been saying and that we've been brainwashed with. That's not what's actually happening. So the kids are all thinking, oh, we only have to get this many credits because that's what they're also being brainwashed with because that's what the teachers are feeding them and the counselors. And there's kids that aren't going to be graduating because they don't have parents to double check everything and make sure all their I's are dotted and their T's are crossed, and that's not okay. So when are we going to take accountability for the fact that we're lying to the public about giving the opportunity for extra study halls and the opportunity for extra whatever, extra classes? It doesn't happen, especially when you're telling 8th graders that they're only offered one elective and that they come second period. No, you shouldn't be telling the incoming 8th graders, the incoming 9th graders, that they're only allowed to have X many classes. That's setting them up for failure with purpose and intent. As I said last time, everything that they do is with purpose and intent. Why? Because if people fail, if everybody keeps failing and falling off the horse, then they get paid more for us to come in and talk because they're educating us. They're supposedly teaching us. That's why we're all here. And they get paid more for grants for all the kids that are then behind. Oh, well, they need this program. They need that program, et cetera, et cetera. It's not helping the majority of the kids. They're taking a handful of children, they're helping that handful of children while all the other kids are being left by the wayside, and it doesn't matter. And again, purpose and intent. My child, my 8th grader, is an honor student, straight A student, junior honor society, and she was not offered, and as a matter of fact, denied honors classes and AP classes.
Thank you,
For
Ms.
what?
Hernandez.
For what? Your turn.
Final name is Helen Athanasopoulos.
Good evening. I didn't plan to come here tonight. I was over at John R. Lewis for an informational open house for incoming GAP students.
I was sitting back there, and one of your administrators came up to me and wanted to discuss what I said last week about the harassment. I asked help from the school board, and that's who I'm asking right now, not from your administrators, because I've already spoken to them. Again, I have been harassed at John R. Lewis. And I ask kindly to the school board that I talk to you in executive session, because I don't think we want to discuss employee things in public out of respect. And I'm truly sorry for the loss of the students and staff that has happened this year. I have lost someone very dear to me this year, very dear. And coming into the building, and that one single administrator said, "I'm sorry," to me. That's okay. So, I'm asking for some help. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Heather. All right, we are at our consent agenda. As we mentioned, we haven't had an opportunity to do a student achievement and operations meeting, committee meeting. Therefore, the consent agenda is very, very small. Typically, a consent agenda is done to expedite the work of the board. These items should be previously discussed and/or non-controversial. Any board member can ask that any items be held over for any reason. Are there any board members that would like to vote on any of these items separately? If not, do I have a motion to approve?
No,
Sorry.
So what letter do we want to vote on separately? It's only two there, so.
Yeah, it is. I just want to know, both of these items, Mr. President, they're both Carnegie Learning for the summer. One is in Scottsdale, Arizona, and one is in San Antonio, Texas. And so what is the difference, and why are we having staff go to the same conference in two different locations for the astronomical $49,200?
And then
So-
52 on top.
We
And
don't
then
have
what's the other
I
one?
don't have a motion or a second. So are you guys okay with voting on them together if you get your questions answered, or do you feel differently about the two? If you're going to vote no for both of them.
I motion to take the two items together.
So motion by Mr.
I'll second that.
Second for items A and B. Ms.
Well,
Hannah's
I just-
already
yeah, I
answered, asked her question. So are you prepared to respond to that, Mr. Cole?
Yes, I am.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Cole.
Hello, board members of the community. The original intent was to utilize the Carnegie Learning Summer Institute as a training session for the program, the math program that we use from grades 6 through 11. So 6th, 7th, 8th, Algebra 1, Geometry, and Algebra 2. The intent of the program is to build our Tier 1 instruction, because we know that the problem is not going to get solved by putting Tier 2 practices in place. Tier 2 is reserved for the upper 25% or the lower, 25%, and then build down. So the best way to attack the problem or the issues with our math in this district is through Tier 1 instruction. So that's the intent of this training session with Carnegie Learning.
Which one?
Both. The original idea was to send everyone to the Scottsdale. There were two offered, and the original intent was to send them, all of our staff, to the same one so they could all attend the same training sessions and we could split it up. So the staff was trained in all of the different sessions and could provide them to the entire staff at the schools. However, An issue came up between basically the same day as the last board meeting that basically all of our seats were not being held like we had previously thought at the Scottsdale. And so at that point we had to pivot and determine which teachers we could still send to the Scottsdale and which teachers were available to go to San Antonio. They are the same conference. The same sessions will be given with the exception of the advanced educator, which is only offered at the Scottsdale. And so we made sure that the 3 people attending the advanced educator were able to go to the Scottsdale, but the general attendee training sessions are the same at both sessions. It's just we had to pivot at the last moment and split the staff up.
So there's 2 groups, in other words, 2 groups of educators that are going.
They were originally part of the same group, but we had to split them up.
So yes, they will be 2 different groups that are going.
For logistical reasons.
Okay.
Ms. Lindsay.
So I actually have a couple of questions, and just to recap based on my research for the Carnegie Learning, the Clear Math program, the advantages of this program is that it offers personalized learning, analyzes student performance data for custom and paced and targeted supports.
That's the Matthew component of the program, yes.
Okay, so is it more than just the math component that you're going to?
There are 2 main components to the Carnegie Learning program. There is the learning individually, which is done through Mathia, and the reports generated by Mathia are to be analyzed by the teachers, and then the teachers are supposed to address the skills that the students are not able to learn on their own or individually with the Mathia program. So that's the first component. The second component of the Carnegie Learning program is the Learning Together, which is the consumable textbook that they do in class. So approximately 20 minutes per day is spent on the Mathia and responding to the Mathia. And then the other 40 to 45 minutes is spent on the textbook lesson where the students are working together, learning the reading skills, learning the problem solving skills that they are not able to access with the Mathia program.
Okay, so then it sounds like it addresses one of the drawbacks that I had researched as well, that it was heavily reliant on technology. So the conference they're going to learn to merge the 2 to best benefit the student, because we saw what virtual learning did for our kids.
Yes, this is a blended learning system. It utilizes both.
Okay. Oh, sorry.
No,
I had more questions. I was just recapping for the community, because we're just talking and throwing out programs and they're not educated on it. So I'm just going to share the research that I have. So I like that it's focusing on the problem solving and critical thinking. And then you addressed the one drawback that I had. So in terms of my questions, we constantly have people come to the podium asking about accountability when individuals go to these conferences. So what are we going to have in place? So what does accountability look like here? To ensure that the attendees are using that full time to engage with the conference, and what protocols do we have so we can assure the public that their tax dollars, because this is local sourced funding, that their tax dollars are going to be well spent on this development opportunity?
It's a very good point and very good question. For the Summer Institute, both last summer and for this summer, we create a spreadsheet basically of all the attendees and all of the sessions that are available. And then we make sure that we are spreading out the teachers that attend the different sessions so they are available to bring them back to their building. Our teams, the math teams, utilize those people within their buildings for the training sessions. For example, Smith Middle School has run at least once a month, they run a coaching roundtable where they are taking teachers' input, but expressing the takeaways that they have received from the workshop sessions. The information is available in the Google Drive to all the teachers, so even those who don't attend can still access that information. But it is the requirement of the teachers that go to bring that back to their buildings.
Okay, and is there any cross collaboration between the schools? Because as they're implementing it, they might see some strengths or things going well that can benefit the rest of the districts or the schools in the district.
We do have the cross collaboration that goes on during the session. So every evening we meet, we discuss. At the end of the training session, we debrief. This year, to be honest, due to the scheduling of development, the schools met individually, so they only brought them back to their own. But I know that it's in discussion for all of math to meet together, all of social studies to meet together, all of science this year, and that would be a perfect venue for that cross collaboration.
Okay, so I do hope that comes to fruition. The last question I had, is there someone able, just because I'm new up here, can someone provide me the total amount of funding of professional development that administrators have been to these types of events? I know it doesn't look like you have one listed unless the advanced ed individual would be considered an administrator, and what the impact of that is on our classrooms. And if that's not for you, then maybe that's a takeaway that the superintendent can take back. I'm sorry, did you hear the request?
No, I did. I'm sorry. Can you say that question one more time?
Yeah, do you mind putting the cell phone away so we can fully focus on what they're talking about?
It's just something that happened right now.
Okay. So the request is to provide me with a total amount, or the board, I guess, with the total amount of funding that administrators have gone to these types of events and the impact it's had in our classrooms directly for our students.
Okay.
Conferences.
Yeah, the conferences and any professional development to bring back to impact our students. That's all I had. Thank you for answering.
Yeah, I'd like to see, Mr. White, can you show me the other item, the one in San Antonio, please? And that's 52,000 for 15 middle school and high school teachers. So 52 and 49, that's over $100,000 in professional development, and hopefully, Superintendent, we as a board are going to hear after this conference how the educators are going to use these things in the classroom for the kids. So hopefully they will bring that back to us.
Can I go
Because
back?
that's a lot of money.
Can I go back to Ms. Lunzine's question? So the question is to see the amount of money and the impact it's had in the classroom. Are you asking for this year? What specifically are you asking for? What's the timeline look like that?
Let's look at the past 5 years.
And okay, so based off that question, I want to ask, is that the concurrence of the board?
I would like to see the amount of money for professional development.
That's a big lift. So it's the question on the table is that the concurrence of the board.
The board member asked for it.
Well, and if the board doesn't agree fully, then we can reduce it. But I would rather see the past 5 years because that's going to cover pre-pandemic and some of these after-pandemic scopes.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm perfectly fine.
If you can't get it, then just for you.
Yeah, we don't have to FOIA. I think it's a perfectly, it's a reasonable request. It is extensive. I think part of the concern, Ms. Lindsay, is we can definitely get the dollar amount. That should be easy to recall. Tying it to outside of the test score. So tying a specific PD to did this PD increase or decrease or what impact it had would be the challenge. So like we could give 5 years, and I'm trying to make sure that we give you the information that you're requesting, 5 years of the amount that we spent on PD along with the 5 years of math data that we've used and see where we are. But there wouldn't be like a and I know that's not what you're asking, but I'm saying, yeah, there wouldn't be like 20 people went to this conference. These
Right.
were their classes, and this was the test scores of those 20 students. Correct. So, Superintendent, the two things in the ask I want to be clear, and what we're looking for board concurrence on, is the total amount of, I guess, PD that was spent in the last 5 years of, which is it NWA, or would you want to? Is there a specific one of our tests that you want to see, and we can either talk about that offline to kind of figure out which data you want to see as it correlates to the amount that we're spending on PD versus the outcomes that we're having in, I guess, attainment.
From my understanding, I believe NWA would be more direct to our students instead of state standards, because that's supposed to be overarching. We're supposed to be looking at broad concepts, not specific instruction that we've implemented in our classrooms. But if someone on the board would rather we have both, that's fine with me.
So that's the ask, Superintendent. And there's an ask from the Superintendent and administration, because it's going to take staff time, is that there's a concurrence. So is there anybody who does not agree with this request?
I don't have a problem with getting the dollar amount for administrators, but I think there's an implication here that, you know, that it's almost like a plug and chug for our teachers, right? That if you attend a conference, you get the strategies, and then the students that they teach automatically get the outcomes. And I want to stray away from that thinking, because that's what burns teachers out. We've had several sessions where we advocate for teachers to get the PD that they want and that they need to better reach several people in their classes. And this is it. You know, there's a group of incredible teachers that are just asking for PD, and I think that's just the ask right now. And so, you know, the dollar amount is okay, but I think there's implications in the second piece of that ask.
So there was no implication on my part, but I asked about administrators, not the teachers. And so even if we're looking at the past 5 years,
yeah,
then if they've gone to a conference, let's say 5 years ago, they've had 5 years to build on those skills. So I understand, having education as my background, you're not going to get an immediate impact.
Right.
But over the course of time, there should be some sort of progress in that respect, especially when you start layering on the different supports.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're including teachers in this, that's fine. I was looking more for administrators and dissemination protocols.
Yeah, I'm still concerned about how we tie that with test scores. And again, to Adriana's point, there's been several discussions about having teachers, specifically the frontline workers, go to these conferences, because it's majorly been admin. And that this one's in the summer that they can attend, and that we're giving them this opportunity, I think is wonderful, and that they're being strategic, going to different sessions instead of having them all, you know, attend the same. So they're maximizing the learning there. For me, I just think it's a great opportunity to have actual teachers going to this conference.
To be clear, I don't think that's not what I'm implying at all.
I
There's
think
no
it was-
implication in that.
It was just the impact statement, like that made me think, you know, the correlation.
I guess the problem I'm having, Mr. President, is what impact that information that's being requested has on our decision tonight on sending these teachers.
It doesn't, it's requested information.
I kind of go along with what Ms. Fabian just said. We have in the past thought our teachers should be able to attend some of these conferences where they can improve what they do. Carnegie Learning is something that is a top-notch math program. I read some backgrounds on it. We've had it for I don't know how many years now, and this is an opportunity for some of our teachers to, I know it's expensive, but it's something that they can use to improve what they do in this program. So I don't know what I guess I have two questions. One is, how does getting this background information at some point is going to influence our decision that we have to make tonight?
I think she just said that it's extra information.
It isn't going to influence my decision. We
So-
either approve what's
so
being
can
asked
I-
tonight,
So
or we don't.
I'm sorry, Mr.
We're
Rowe.
straying,
I
we're
wanna,
straying.
yeah, I wanna make it clear that I did not understand or receive a request to hold this information over. I did not receive a request that they would not support this initiative.
Oh,
What I
okay.
heard from Ms. Lansing was a request that we come back with that data. As a newer board member, having the most recent 5 years of NWA data for her to
Okay.
be able to go through, as someone who reads reports, understands it, and would find that as beneficial to her as board service, I don't think is a ridiculous request at all. And nor do I think that it was cumbersome to request the financials. We go in, we see PD, and we would be able to provide that.
Okay.
The superintendent is right. Our board agreements require anything that's going to take a significant amount of staff time
Right.
to be with board consensus. So that's all we were doing. I didn't see the correlation between getting Ms. Lindsay that information and us being able to vote on this tonight.
Correct.
I
Thank
do
you, Mr.
agree that we have asked for staff, and so the expense to me, these are our front line. This is where the money should be going. This is what we're pushing it down to. I didn't hear any contradiction of that. I will say, Ms. Hannah, I know you talk about reporting. Outside of a brief, hey, it was awesome and these are the things I'm implementing, it's 8:42. I keep talking. There's a lot that we want to get through in a district of 22, and everything that is good to know isn't necessarily need to know. And so for the teachers that are going, I want them to be implementing this in the classrooms. I want them to be talking with their teams. I want them to be working on their students. But we can figure out how they would report up or what things you're interested in hearing. But just to have reports on the PD that's provided, that's not something I'm looking for. But I do want to say it is already 8:43 and we're on the consent agenda. You guys have asked and tasked me with trying to keep the meetings moving. So what I do want to say is Ms. Lindsay has a request. I support it. Ms. Hannah, do you support it?
Absolutely.
Ms. Lindsay, do you support it?
Yes.
Ms. Fabian, do you have any issues or objections with it? Do you support it, Mr. McBride?
Well, when she asked the question the first time, she's a board member. She asked for it, she should have gotten it.
So that's yes. Mr. Riddle?
I support it as long as we're just giving the dollar figure, then we're not trying to see what the impact has been.
Well, the impact is still, so we narrowed it to two things.
Okay.
The 5 years of NWA data
Right.
and 5 years of the number of administration that, the dollar amount.
Okay, yes.
Ms.
Yes.
Gonzalez, okay. So you do have board consistency, Superintendent.
So I just want to make it clear, I'm giving 5 years of NWEA data in reading and math, and the 5 years of total amount of spending on professional development inside and outside of the state. Is that correct for administration?
Yes.
You didn't say inside or outside, I'm just adding that.
Oh, sure. I'll clarify that. Yes. Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. Yes, we got a motion and a second. We've had discussion. Roll call vote.
Ms. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Mr. Riddle?
Yes.
Mr. McBride?
Yes.
Ms. Hannah?
Yes, and thank you for clarifying the two conferences. Thank you.
Ms. Lindsay?
Yes.
Ms. Fabian?
Yes.
President Ewing?
Yes, item approved, motion carries. We now have 13A personnel items.
It is the recommendation that the Board of Education accept the administration's recommendations to approve the appointments and accept the resignations as found on schedules F1001 and L948.
Do we have a motion?
Motion by Mr. Riddle.
Motion by Mr. Riddle.
I second.
Second by Ms. Gonzalez. Any comments or questions on the motion?
Yeah, I am very sad that we have a resignation that is listed today, a very valuable employee, and she definitely will be missed, I'm sure, in her department, but also just as being a part of the District 60 family. Thank you for your services and good luck to you, and you will be missed.
Thank you for that, Ms. Hannah. And
Comment.
go ahead, Mr. McBride.
Angela Bofield. I know I ain't gonna miss you because I'm gonna be down at the Boys and Girls Club, so I see you all the time anyway.
He'll bother you there too. All right, seeing as there are no other questions or comments, roll call vote.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Mr. McBride,
Yes.
Ms. Hannah,
Sadly, yes.
Ms. Fabian,
I agree, sadly, yes.
Ms. Lindsay,
It's never good to lose experience, but yes, congratulations.
Ms. Gonzalez,
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes, item approved, motion carries. We now have grants and donations. Oh, do we have any, no administrators, right? Administrative appointments? All right. Grants and donations, approval of 4 Lulu Ripberger scholarships and 1 Alan Larson Music Memorial Scholarship.
It is the recommendation of the superintendent that the Board of Education authorize the superintendent or her designee to request from Lulu Rippenberger Scholarship Trust Fund 4 student awards not to exceed $2,000 per student, and from the Alan Larson Music Memorial Scholarship Trust Fund 1 student award not to exceed $1,000 per student.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions on the motion?
I just have a question for clarification. I apologize, Ms. Hannah. So if the students were to become no longer eligible because it looks like this total amount is all 4 years up front, what happens with those funds, or what's the procedure?
Dr. Cesario?
I don't.
I'm actually not sure, Ms. Lindsay.
Yeah,
Somebody's
I don't
in-
think it's up front. I think it's
It's just
per year.
allocated?
It's allocated directly to the
'Cause they-
school, is what it
To the
says.
school.
And they have to prove
And
enrollment
they have
every
to
year.
improve enrollment every year, so it goes directly to the school each year.
I'm
from
not
what I read.
implying that it goes directly to the student. I read that it goes to the school, but if the student were to no longer qualify, I was
Right.
curious what the procedure was.
Goes
Because if
back
it's
into the
earmarked,
fund. 'Cause this is
thank
a-
you for answering my question.
Yeah, this is a fund that we have with, one of them has $54,000 in it, I believe the other one has 5,000.
But do we replace that student and offer that to someone else for?
Yes.
per-
So,
I
let's-
got confused because one said yes and one said no.
Yeah, let's let the
Yeah,
people,
Brian, talk about it.
let's
Mr.
let
Lavosa?
staff answer.
Ms. Lindsay, can you ask your question one more time since he may have not heard the question?
Sure. So I just want clarification. We hope that our students don't fall into this position, but since we're talking about money with the district, what happens in the event that the student no longer meets the qualifications, meaning good standing, enrolled in the school? Those funds, I'm understanding, do go back, but do we select someone for those funds to receive, or they're just back in the pot to be used for a future student of a different year?
Lately, it's been going back in the pot and used for future students. So they usually award like four or 5 or 6 students a year. Those are the students that get awarded. There's no new ones that get awarded after that if somebody drops out.
Okay.
But there is a new select round of students the following year.
For the following year. Okay, thank you.
Now, my question, I have a question.
Go ahead, Ms. Hannah.
How are the students selected?
That I couldn't tell you, because that comes
Who
from
selects
the high
it?
school.
The music teachers give nominations.
Oh.
Because
I
they're
was
they're
looking
music
for the
awards, right?
Superintendent, because aren't these the ones you give, superintendent?
These are not those scholarships, no ma'am.
Oh, okay, okay.
But I can find out how the students are selected, and I'll get it out to the whole
I'd
board.
appreciate that.
Yeah. Okay. Roll call.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Mr. McBride,
Yes.
Ms. Hannah,
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Ms. Fabian,
Yes.
Ms. Lindsay,
Yes.
President Ewing.
Yes, item approved, motion carries. We are now at item 16A, ratification of the first processing of May 2023 board bills, manual check request payments, and Old National Bank insurance payments for the period of April 19, 2023 through May 2nd, 2023.
It is a recommendation of the administration that the Board of Education ratify the first processing of board bills for April 2023 and manual check request payments and Old National Bank insurance payment for the period of April 19th, 2023 through May 2nd, 2023. The Accounts Payable Board, April 19th, 2023 through May 2nd, 2023. Payments total $1,364,428.47. The manual check request payments for the period of April 19th, 2023 through May 2nd, 2023, total $707,898.68. Though National Bank insurance payments for the period of April 19th, 2023 through May 2nd, 2023, total $2,617,566.68.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Riddle,
Second.
second by Ms. Gonzalez. Any comments or questions on the motion?
Yes, I did not get the opportunity to peruse the each entire item under this agenda item, but I did get a chance to look at some of the checklistings, and there's some items on there that I will be doubling back with Ms. Pope, because there's like duplicate items. Get 423, okay, and they're duplicates, and I didn't understand why they were duplicates, and but I will talk with Ms. Polk about that, because it looked kind of odd to me, and so I'm gonna pass this, because I'm not real certain about some of the listings that were in the items that I looked at. So I will be talking with Ms. Pope, Superintendent.
Thank you. All right, we got a motion and a second.
Oh, sorry.
Go.
Thank you for presenting that as an option. So to not belabor the point, I will follow up. The only concern that I have, big picture wise, is a lot of these items were like pens, markers, pencils, and I was under the impression that we have a warehouse full of supplies. So I'm just confused why these are coming out as individual checks instead of going to the warehouse first to use what we have. But if that's something to take back to you so we can maybe rectify that for future instances, because I'm on the board of let's pass it because these are bills that we've already spent and maybe we can correct going forward.
Thank you, Ms. Pope. Thank you, Ms. Lindsay, Ms. Hannah. Are there any other comments or questions? Roll call vote.
Mr. Riddle,
Yes.
Mr. McBride, Ms. Hannah,
I pass.
Ms. Gonzalez,
Yes.
Ms. Fabian,
Yes.
Ms. Lindsay,
Bills are bills that need to be paid, so yes.
President Ewing.
Yes, item approved. Motion carries. All right, seeing as we are at reports, are there any committee reports at this time? I will, if we can, again, stressing any committees, superintendent, if we can kind of close out the season like we normally do in June, and get some reports or information. I know, Ms. Gonzalez, you guys have been working diligently on the, which committee is that?
Which one?
I know you're multiple.
There's the Equity Advisory
Equity
Council.
Advisory, that's the one I'm thinking of. So, there's a lot of good work that's coming out of there. I hate changing policies mid-year, so anything that we can do in order on, minutes are done for open session, right? So, policy work. Thank you. Delegates report, Ms. Hannah, do you have one?
I don't have one this meeting, sir.
All right, we do have a superintendent's report.
We do. At this time, I'd like to call Dr. Cesario. For quite some time, we've talked about our principals are the lever of change. And as a result, we see different initiatives. We've seen that one at Little Fort today, different types of autonomy at each schools. We now believe that we are at a point in our district where schools can apply to be a WIN school, in which they would be independent from the cohorts of schools and oversight from the area superintendents. This will be an application process. You will see what the application looks like, what schools have to do. They have to have these discussions within their schools. And then those applications will be vetted by the district office to see if we will lend that lens of autonomy per school. And so, Dr. Cesario.
I think you
I'll
did
let
it. I don't have to. No, I'm just joking. Good evening, board president, superintendent, members of the board. I'd like to extend my condolences to those families that have lost loved ones, and also acknowledge and appreciate our teachers. So thank you for the hard work you do each and every day. So it was a great opening that the superintendent gave regarding the WINS program. Essentially, this is an extension of our Aspiring Leaders program. And what it does is it addresses those principals that are working at a high level. So today I'm just going to give you an overview of the WINS program. This is not something original to Waukegan. I think what we're going to do is put an original spin on this. But other districts do this as a way to develop the capacity of principals, provide opportunities outside of their schools to get involved in district decision making, and to also see what other opportunities there. Similar to our Aspiring Leaders program, where we're giving people outside of the classroom experience or aspiring principals, assistant principals, opportunities to walk in the shoes of a principal through having experiences that allow them to develop their capacity. This is much similar to that. So some of the highlights, I think you can see, are that they're going to limit the amount of meetings that we have that they would be obligated to attend. There would be a revised budget and SIP process, school improvement process, increased flexibility with budget and purchasing, and the professional learning autonomy for their schools and themselves. We'd have a modified principal evaluation, again, within the guidelines of the state, and then an option for peer evaluation. Some of the expectations, again, this is about expanding opportunities for our successful principals, for our principals who have demonstrated through their leadership, through the results that they've derived and guided in their schools, and also the contributions that they've made to the district. So they would attend 2 annual WINS meetings, a kickoff meeting, and a focus group meeting in order to garner and gather feedback so that we can improve that program and continue to grow and improve the program. What is really important to note here is that the schools must be commendable or exemplary standing for 3 or more consecutive years. They have to maintain or improve that status, and then they have to remain in good standing across key district metrics and with an annual review of school performance. They still have to respond to central office. They still have to abide by all the state requirements. And the last piece here is to agree to remain a principal in the district for at least 2 years. So we want to continue this program, develop opportunities for these folks so that we can create a pipeline within our own district for people who want that opportunity to move up. Thank you. So ongoing support from the district and staff. I think it gives an opportunity for those folks, for us to learn from those folks as well. They'll have an opportunity to be mentored and coached, but also to be a part of what is happening at both divisions with the leadership there, to be able to sit down, talk, also be a part of the decision making there. Access to district resources and funding as they would in any other case, but also with a little bit more flexibility, again, with the approval of the board and the superintendent. Open invitation to all principals meetings. They still have that opportunity to attend those meetings, to work with with an area superintendent, and then they have opportunities to extend their leadership capacity through professional development and or having a professional coach. So this has already been presented to the principals, and we were requesting recommendations from the area superintendent or the superintendent, and they're going to submit an application. That application asks for them to talk about what contributions they would bring and how this program would help them develop their leadership. And then candidates will interview with the superintendent and or district leadership, and then we'll announce those folks that are moving forward in the process at the probably at the June board meeting.
I have a couple questions.
Go ahead, Ms. Gonzalez.
Yeah. So I guess having introduced this concept to principals, what has been the overall feedback?
It's been very positive. So, and what we typically do, just so you know that, it's not just me saying, yeah, it's been great.
Yeah.
So after every principals meeting, we ask for an exit slip or a survey to talk about how the meeting was and what topics, how they felt about topics, and it was very positive.
Okay. And the second thing that comes top of mind and why I hesitate a little bit with this strategy, although I'm very much an advocate of decentralizing, I fear like communication between departments and between schools is already kind of difficult.
Yep.
How does becoming more of an independent, pillar within your own institution help remedy some of that? Will they get internal supports at each school?
Can you tell me what you mean by an internal support?
Yeah. So, like, for example, not every school has, say, strong social media presence. Well, can we count on every principal having that resource at their school?
Well, we always offer, we make the offer to everyone, and I think it's different in terms of what everyone uses. But in terms of kind of considering what you're saying about what I'm interpreting you saying is, are we creating silos by doing this?
Right.
It's quite the opposite.
Okay.
And it's involving, engaging people. And if we have principals that have already learned about certain leadership ideals or practices, it gives them an opportunity to exercise those in another venue with being a part of the ASAP team or being a part of what Deputy Moten is doing in terms of his leadership team meetings and the other initiatives where we'll have these people sit on them. I myself have gone through a similar program. Again, they're not unique to Waukegan. They're not unique to the state. They're across the country, and it is a retention recruitment strategy as well, in terms of providing an opportunity outside, and it is addressing, I feel, what the research shows too. It's differentiating because we're looking at supports for people who have reached a certain level in their career or who are ready to develop another, an area of their leadership.
I think another point is that they won't be left off of communications, right? So if there is PD going on, or if there's initiatives going out through EL or the data team, or they'll still be included in that. However, they will just have more autonomy about some of the initiatives they lead, right? Because previously we've been leading with managed instruction, so what the curriculum is, this is what it is, but this will allow the principal and the staff, and like I said, there's an application, so they have to apply for this, and they have to be ready at this stage. We may have, and there is a rubric to look at these applications, so we may have schools apply that may just not be ready yet, but it also gives them something to thrive forward to, so that they know where the goalpost is, right? It causes a little bit of healthy competition, and looking at what your scores are. They moving in the same, moving up in reading and in math? Are you pulling the right levers for academic improvement? Making them look at the overall program, but also giving them incentive that once they get to a point that they are able now to start having more autonomy with their teachers in their school.
Ms. Anna.
Okay. First off, you said that Okay, you said that other schools were doing this.
Other districts have done
Other
it. Yeah.
districts. Can you give me a couple districts
Well,
that I can?
Chicago Public Schools is one who has done it. They've done it. Well, that there are other districts. It's not an original program. That's it. There are some that are across the country. I can't name others. I know, as I had mentioned in full disclosure, that I myself had been designated as an ISP, an independent school principal. Prior to that, there was another one called AMPS, Autonomous Management.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay, but now let me elaborate on my concern.
Of course.
Well, I got a couple concerns. The
Mhm.
first one is, now if we're gonna give each school autonomy, and that means that if a child moves from, let me just pick one, autonomy, just say Juarez, okay? And they're at Juarez, they're student going through Juarez, and then their family moves into the John Lewis, okay? So how is that going to benefit the student that moves? Okay, because see, we're and I kind of got an issue with this. We are doing a lot of adult educating in this district, and my concern is that we're supposed to be educating kids, okay? So how is what you're talking about, how is this going to benefit our children
So
in
I think
their academics?
Sure. So, part of the requirements is that they have to be commendable or exemplary first. And so I think it goes without saying that right now we have consistent curricula for those schools. That there are a couple of our schools that are not, and those are exemplary schools. They're using similar programs, but they've asked, and we've granted because they've proven success with those. But I think it's the same concept. It's that autonomy is bounded to their continued success. They have to show a track record of success. And so I think it benefits children because it's an effort, a concerted effort, to continue to work towards overall improvement.
So then it's not going to hinder a student that moves from one school to another school.
All the instruction is standard based. So as long as we're continuing to use standards based, the programming might be different. Today we talked about Carnegie. All of our schools are using Carnegie, so the program might be different. Right now, all of them are the same. So I couldn't talk about the impact that it could have one way or the other, but they all have to. The change is really not about what we're teaching. It's about the improvement that the school as a whole is making.
So I saw Ms.
And-
Fabian saying first and then Ms. Lindsay.
And there'll still be the sequence, the curriculum maps, aligned assessments, all of
Right.
that'll still be there to
And
utilize.
there are variations in
Right.
that because we have IB schools that they are using the curriculum maps, but there's an add-on on top of that
It's
in
more
order
project-based.
so that they can align to what the IB program is.
And Ms. Hannah, if a school just moved away from the standards, they wouldn't be able to keep their designation because that would impact them eventually. Maybe not the first year, I can't say that, but eventually you'd see that impact if they're moving away from standards.
Yeah, no, and I'm not. I'm hoping we're not.
No, we're not. That's not what we're saying. This is more around mentoring professional development, giving the school some autonomy. Like one school may want to focus more on language acquisition, right? Because I have a number of dialects, and so I feel my teachers could utilize, professional development there. And I've been exemplary, I'm just using that for 5 years. And so I have a plan on what I think can take my school to the next level. And so this is giving them consideration. It's bounded autonomy. It's just, they're just not going to be free to go, right? There'll still be supervision, but it is bounded of autonomy where we're having more of a dialogue on what levers they're pulling, what direction they're going, a more autonomy around their SBB, et cetera.
And I just want to be very transparent here. This program is not for the children, right? And when I opened and said that this is part of the Aspiring Leaders program, right? It's a continuous part of this. One aspect of what we're doing. And so that's, just to be clear, there is an indirect impact overall, because if the principals are leading and guiding and working towards this improvement, we're going to see that there will be a student achievement will continue to improve.
All right, that's going to be, I will be watching.
Ms. Fabian?
And we want your input too, so thank you for.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So my question is on timeline, and my concern is a couple of things. One is that 3-year designation. We know we just got report cards this year. So are you going back pre-pandemic to consider the 3 years?
So that's what we're going to do right now.
Okay.
Right, and so and I thank you for bringing that up. We're trying to start this small. We don't. The idea here is not to have autonomy for every school, right? And it has to be bounded. And so we want to make sure that we're getting feedback from the board, and that's another reason to present it here tonight, but also from the principals that are engaged in it. What can we do to make it better? What can we do to ensure that we are indeed not we're not seeing, we're not missing something?
And the second question regarding with that timing is once these principles are approved and we're looking at them making those autonomous decisions, just knowing how the school year works, where we just are sending teachers to, PD on Carnegie, and we're purchasing all the materials to have them ready for the school year, we're not making those changes for next year then, so that the curriculum and all of that stays the same and consistent.
And they still have to.
Fiscally.
They still have to have a conversation with me about what's happening, right?
I just don't
It's
want
that-
double purchasing going on because we've
Right.
planned for them to use Carnegie,
No,
for example,
and
now they're using something else.
And whatever we plan for the following year is
So
what
it'll
we
be-
plan
okay.
for. And I think this is, we're also going to talk about how we're going to differentiate supports for schools and for principals. So there will be PLCs focused on areas of growth. We'll share the PD plan too, so that everyone can see what's happening. But we've already mapped that out for the next year. We're not going to pull back from that. It wouldn't allow the principal, again, it's bounded, right? It's within reason. But I do feel that it gives an opportunity. The two most important or two critical pieces to this is it gives those principals an opportunity to have professional development of their choosing, and the coaching piece. I think it's really important that coaches, we often think about coaches as a deficit, an area for a deficit. Really, coaches are there to support the best. And that's what we want to do. And so I think
grow
it's
your own admin.
and that's
So we're
part of
gonna
the
start looking
aspiring.
at-
It's part of the Aspiring Leaders program. This is just one aspect of it, and again, it's a smaller aspect of it. But I do think it's important to address that.
And
Ms. Lindsay?
Thank you. So I'm not a fan of speaking or asking questions on something that I'm not informed on. So if we could get some sort, and if you want to limit access based on the tiers, if we can get the subject matter of what the superintendent report's going to be, so that if it is this WINS program, we can understand, yes, it's in Chicago, but where else has it been? We can be better prepared to ask questions as it serves our community. But I will say, just my bigger picture of education, I'm sorry for the feedback, is that in Finland, who has a great education structure, all of the schools are the same. And so when we talk about autonomy and we look at, let's talk about our elementary schools, Cook in the community is seen as the premier elementary school that we have for our students in this district. And then we have students at other schools that aren't getting the same level of education. And while I do want to give professional development to these principals that are excelling, one aspect of professional development would be for them to share their expertise and mentor schools that are struggling and focus on that. I know the word competition was used. I don't want our principals competing against each other. I want them collaborating, supporting, and building all of our students up. So when that's in connection with this, that, I'm gonna be honest, triggers me. So I can't speak confidently on the WINS program. I am going to be looking into it and researching it further and following up with you
Sure.
to get more information. But as it stands, this doesn't make me feel comfortable.
Okay, so a couple things I just want to address really quickly. So one is, that is part of the program, is that these folks would mentor and coach other principals. They would have an opportunity to do that. Second, I think it's really important to note that Finland is very homogenous. You're right, everything is the same, but it's a smaller population which is very homogenous.
Is it
And
bigger?
then-
Is
and
it
then-
smaller than Waukegan?
No, it's not.
Okay.
But I'm not saying that to engage in a debate with you. I want to make a clarifying statement. That's all. Finland is a smaller country which is very homogenous. Therefore, the thing that I know and I experience is that each school, and just like you said, Cook is a culture unto itself. It has its own culture. It's not better or worse than any other school, but each school has its own culture. I think it's important to acknowledge that and honor that.
Yeah.
And so I also think it's important that outside perspective also helps. So what you said about having principals mentor other principals is really critical, because they may not have the same experience in the same school, but they have experience that they can lend an eye, and that's what we want to do. We want to go in there, use your perspective, and we're not saying you have to do exactly the same thing that this school did, but it's an opportunity to say, I've experienced similar, and to really work with that other principal. I think it's a great opportunity.
An example of this would be at Greenwood. When I first came in, before we adopted everyday math at all of our elementary schools, Greenwood had to fight to implement everyday math every year. And I'll speak for Ms. Myers, who I hope is watching. She would state, I knew it was working. The data showed me it was working, but every year I had to fight to implement everyday math, right? And so this is an example where principals know that something's working and have a track record, and in alignment and collaboration with ASAP would look at those initiatives, right, and serve as mentors. And I do want to state, when I say competition and healthy competition, we just seen the attendance video last week, and our schools are constantly looking at each other, collaborating with each other, and so seeing that they're all trying to get to commendable, they're all trying to get to exemplary, they all do collaborate. We try to have coherency running through them, but you have different principals at different schools with different staffs that serve different communities, and this allows them to be creative and innovative within their own school community, to pull, and I keep using the word levers, to pull the levers that work for them. So what works at Cook may not work at Greenwood. What works at Greenwood may not work at Clark. That's right there, just because of the student populations that they serve are very different. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, and I think one last piece of this, we already have a principal leadership team where we have principals that are a part of and have an opportunity to give voice to the decision making around professional development with the area superintendents. One of a piece of feedback that they provided prior to me initiating this was that they wanted more. They wanted more voice, and I can't think of a better way to provide more voice than this. And at the heart of this, it's about providing professional development at minimal cost for our principals. And I think we've talked about retention, we've talked about recruitment. I think this is important that we look at things at all levels. And this is just, again, one aspect that I'm reporting on this evening. Ms. Hannah?
Yeah, first, oh shoot, I lost that.
Well, you can email me.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
Came right
I'm ready.
back.
You tell me.
Okay, the diverse learners.
Yes.
How is that going to fit into this? Because see, we still have not addressed our diverse learners. the problems and issues that we have in that department. And now we're getting ready to do something new, okay? And I am so hoping that we are not jumping from, we start something over here and then we jump over here to something else without seeing the fruits of the labor over here. So where are we in terms of all of the initiatives that we have started? And I'll go back in my notes and on board docs, and I will look at all the initiatives that we started, and hopefully Superintendent and Dr. Cesario, you all will be able to give me and the board a presentation on the things that we have finished and accomplished, and now we're moving to something different.
We're not moving to something different. And just, I think that was a good question from board member Fabian, where she was asking, well, what if, you started, you just approved the purchase of professional development for Carnegie tonight. So if there are schools that are accepted, does that mean they don't have to do it? That's not the case. And with the professional development streams that are happening with diverse learners, whether it's co-teaching at certain schools or if it's something else at another school, those are going to continue. And we have to also remember that these schools have to be commendable. We're not talking about all of our schools. They have to be commendable or exemplary for 3 years in a row. And if they're not, or if the principal leaves, then that designation is the principal's designation, not the school's designation. So if there were a new principal to come in, and then they would no longer be a WIN school, they would return back into working with the area superintendents.
Yeah.
But we want to continue. I think the critical piece about professional development is the continuity, and that we're continuing this, and that we're working on it with the Carnegie Learning. That is something that was vetted through the curriculum council, that we worked on, that the teachers were supportive of, and we're trying to support that again through the approval of that professional development. We would not want to take that away just because there was a designation given to the principal and the school overall, but mostly the principal in terms of what additional supports or involvement they may have in other schools or at with the district administration.
Right.
Mr. Riddle has a question. Mr. Riddle.
It's not really a question. I think it's more of a comment. Teachers are creative. Leaders want to have control and want to empower the people that are under them. Listen to them, get ideas. So I think what you're doing here, to me, sounds like a good step forward, because our principals, we want to retain them. We want to give them some trust and some freedom within their school to try different initiatives, to do different things, to empower some of their teachers to try something, and different, and so I think this is something that each school that qualifies as a Learn School will want to do. From what you've said, you yourself enjoyed having that power in your school when you worked in CPS. So I know in the Air Force we do things very regimented. I was in the Air Force, but we also had freedom, and we empowered people in different departments to do things and try things, within limits. So there's always limits, but each one of us want to be creative, want to have some chance to try something that may work better that nobody else has tried yet. So this looks like a good program to me. And it sounds like our leaders want this. Some of our leaders, our principals, want to try this.
And I was just going to say that, Mr. Riddle, is that this is in response to the feedback that we received, that they want an opportunity, and just thinking about it and talking with the area superintendents and with the superintendent, throwing around some ideas, we thought this would be an additional way to do that. We already have the principal leadership team. This is just another step.
And it's honoring the work that they've already done, and it's giving them an opportunity to do better.
And to work with other principals.
Yes, and to be proud of what they're accomplishing. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for the feedback.
I got a question, Brandon.
Go ahead, Mr. McBride.
I'll call you.
Okay, sounds good.
Go ahead, Mr. McBride.
I was listening to Ms. Lindsay, and she did make a comment about Cook. And that's always, I've been here all my life, Cook always had been a pre-predominant school, to the point to even where you had to take a test to even get into school. And if Cook is doing what Cook is supposed to be doing, whatever it is that they're using, whatever metric, I think it needs to be shared with other schools. And I heard the superintendent say it depends on the kids that goes to that school. That didn't sound real good to me about the demographic of kids going to Cook versus other schools. I just think that every kid have the ability to learn. I don't care what kind of test you put in them, because number
Agreed.
one, just because you don't know red from green when you're little, you will learn that, but that shouldn't hold you back because of the fact that you couldn't figure those colors out or was able to arrange that puzzle. That shouldn't hold you back from being in that school, because that within itself, for me, it's a holdback for a kid. And as a result of that, when you hold that kid back, well, that means, well, okay, well, now we're going to put you over here in Carmen School because this is your ability. And to me, that don't sit right. I just think what she said, whatever's going on with Cook or Greenwood or Little Fort, if they're excelling, that same scenario should be going to the rest of the schools.
And I agree, and that was one of the things that I said, and I wanted to highlight, was that it allows for networking, but also something that we haven't shown yet and that we're going to share in an upcoming student achievement meeting is the PLCs, where we're going to have principals working together from all different schools on different concepts. Some of them.
Dr. Cesare, could you just remind us what that means, PLC?
I'm so sorry. Yes, professional learning communities.
Okay.
Sorry. So thank you for asking. I forget about the acronym sometimes.
Yeah.
So thank
Because
you.
I was like, I kind of understand, but I
No.
don't
Yeah,
wanna
thanks.
assume.
Mr. Riddle always reminds me of that too, and that's important that we do that so that the folks, everyone can hear that. Thank you. Yeah,
And I just,
professional learning
I want to
communities.
clarify what I stated is that every school serves a different community, and that's what I just want to state that. So depending on what community you're in, because we have community schools versus Cook, you need a test to get in there, or different programs we have. Neither good or bad, but majority of our schools serve the community that they're in. So if you live in the 7th Ward, you'd go to Greenwood, or maybe Littleford, I think that may be 7th. So with the community school models, they go to schools within their community.
I get it, Teresa, but Cook is on the south side, but I guarantee you the kids from the south side don't go to Cook.
Yeah, there's Northsiders for sure in there. The resources that you have for this program, are you able to disseminate it to the board members so that we're better prepared?
Sure, I can. What kind of resources do you want? Like just any other information?
Yes.
Yeah. And again, I'm going to be fully transparent. I just pulled ideas from other things. What you see is what I have right here. And so I can get you additional information from different.
So Deputy Cesare, I think we can start there, is just sending out the presentation to the board, and then if there are further
Oh, I
questions,
thought they had
can
it already.
reach out to
My
us. No, we did
apologies.
not.
Sorry about that. I didn't know. So yeah, we can send it out to you, and then happy to answer any additional questions. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So the FOIA report is there for information.
Can I ask a question about the FOIAs?
Is it important for? It's 9:30.
Okay. I want to know. As I was looking at the FOIAs, I saw that people were submitting FOIAs regarding the bids, and is there something going on with the bids now? And you guys have to give me consideration because I was not here. Okay, and so and I want to be brought up to date because I did hear some grumblings about the bids for the wraparound center and 214 Washington Street. And so, and then I look on the FOIA report, and I see that there's like maybe, there's maybe 3 or 4 FOIAs about the bids. And so, is there something that that I should know about the bids that came in for that project?
I can't speak to what those particular FOIAs were asking for at this time, Ms. Santa. I can look into that and connect with Mr. Moten, and we'll get back to you.
Okay, yeah, because I'm going to follow up on that because, you know, that 214 Washington Street is still a hot button item out in the community, and if there's something going on, I want to know about that. And we can move on, Mr. President.
All right, so I did ask because this proclamation came outside of grammatical changes. The proclamation stands as it did as presented by Mr. Hinojosa. What I'm going to ask him to do for the sake of time is this item is attached for the community, for the public. It has been on multiple occasions. I'm going to ask you, Mr. Hosa, you know, the whereas clauses as presented, and then if you start, so just say the whereas clauses as presented, and then now for, and you can read the now therefore portion, and then we would need a motion from a. I asked for Mr. Hinojosa to provide the initial motion, but in order to make it permanent, I'll need a first and a second from the actual board. So with that, go ahead, Mr. Hinojosa.
So you want me just to say whereas as presented, and then say now for and all of that?
Now
to that
therefore, and read that entire section.
Oh, okay. Whereas as presented, and I just go to each single one of them, right? No, just one?
Then now therefore.
Now therefore.
Oh,
Jump
okay.
down.
There we go. Okay. Now therefore, in the recognition of numerous and recent attacks on the world of academia and the written word, the Board of Education of the Waukegan Community Unit School District Number 60 and the student board member proclaim that the Waukegan Community Unit School District 60 stands firm on the promise and mission of providing their students with the wonders of literature and media different than their own, and never subjecting these students to ever have to fight for the right to read. Effective this 9th day of May 2023.
I so moved,
Now you
sir.
motion.
I motion?
No, you can't.
Well,
he
it's
is
symbolic
doing the
privilege,
symbolic motion as he was the one who actually brought it forward. I do need an official first from the board.
I motion.
Motion by Ms. Lensing, second by Ms. Gonzalez.
Yeah.
Any comments or questions on the motion?
Just that I'm proud of you for putting this together.
Right.
Very well done.
Yeah.
Very much needed.
And that when Victor brought it forward, I know that there was some back and forth about, you know, it being a proclamation, it going into policy and this and that. And I'm like, whatever, however it looks, however it happens, you know, this is top of mind for young people. And, you know, the governor is looking at it now because it's that serious of an issue and we should take it seriously. So I appreciate Victor for advocating for it 100%.
Thank you.
And I would thank him as well for putting in there in this proclamation our very own Ray Bradbury in his novel and his statements, you know, with Fahrenheit 451. So very timely, and thank you for putting that in there.
Very thoughtful.
And all the more reason why we should have a motion like this.
Thank you. So we got a first and a second. All in favor signify. I'll take a roll call.
Mr. Riddle?
Yes.
Mr. McBride?
Yes.
Ms. Hannah?
Yes.
Ms. Gonzalez?
Yes.
Ms. Fabian?
Yes.
Ms. Lensing?
Yes.
President Ewing?
Yes, item approved. Motion
I
carries.
have some more business.
And Ms. Hannah, due to the time under old business, is this something that we would want discussed tonight? Or
Well, you all already discussed it. It's already been passed. But it's items that I missed when I was not here. Didn't have the opportunity to speak on them. but they are old business.
Can we bring them back in 2 weeks, as I was not aware of the old business items that you wanted to discuss this evening? So if you email myself, Superintendent, we can make sure that they are put on the docket as a discussion item or as old business. So I did not have any old business items submitted.
Okay, yeah.
All right. So I do apologize for that. And board, I know we are bringing in new board members. I know you guys got that thick book of stuff. You are digging your way through. Thank you, Kathy, though, because when I started, it was like, congratulations, and here.
Good luck.
So, so it's improving. But one of the things is we just ask, like, any board members can ask that we either discuss an item or, it doesn't have to wait for the board meeting. I do need to know. Typically we ask for a week in advance, right? And because sometimes it can be answered in the email, sometimes it needs to be a presentation to the entire board, sometimes we think it's been asked and answered, but board members may still have lingering conversations. If I know that it's going to be discussed, we can put it and allot the time for it. I've also been told from the board that they don't want our meetings to go till 10 p.m.
Sorry, Mr.
So
McBride.
that is why I'm doing that, not because I believe exactly what you want to say, Ms. Hannah. It's super important. I'm just trying to honor what the board has asked me time and time again, is to move the meetings along. And so we can come back and address those issues. I just ask that you submit an email briefly asking for these items to be placed on the agenda. With that, we do not have any new business items that were listed. No student discipline matters to address. So now there's board member time. I will start. I guess I'll start at this end with Ms. Gonzalez.
Oh, I have quite a bit. Thank you, Lee. So I guess I'll start with the Joaquin Strong Scholarship recipients. I, alongside Carolina and the members of our foundation, I know Mr. Grimes was here earlier. This was a really hard cycle to choose winners for, and I feel like we say that every year because our students are so exceptional, and we also know that they need so much support as they look beyond graduation. But we did award 2 scholarship winners who will receive $3,000 each, and you can go to the next slide. If there is a next slide, right? Okay. The first is Juani Moreno Garcia. She plans to go to Lake Forest College. She is so humble but does an incredible job as part of her communities. And she's going to be right here near home. So, she fits the bill in terms of what we're looking for, like students who want to remain local or come back and help their community. So, she's one of our first recipients. And then next slide. And then Crystal Hernandez plans to attend the University of Illinois. She's also phenomenal, does a lot of environmental advocacy. And I believe she is the regimental commander, right?
She is. Yes.
So, JROTC representing, and 2 stellar applicants, but again, the pool was so amazing, and I honestly, we talked a lot about it in the foundation sessions, that we hope every student that we interviewed with and read applications for applied to some of the other opportunities that were happening locally that we sent out. So that's that spiel. I did want to apologize and congratulate the new board members, and I guess the reinduction of Mr. Riddle. I was out for a while because I was actually on vacation and attending my college reunion, which was unexpectedly transformative because I got to reconnect with some alumni from my alma mater. And I think it's always important for me to showcase just how far you can go as a student, even if your parents didn't go to college, even if you didn't know what that process was about, because you could really put 2 and 2 together and get to where you want to be, no matter how long it takes you to get there. So as seniors made their decision and look forward to college, I'm really proud of them, but also the students that choose not to go to college and have a different path lined up for them. That's valid too, and that's a lot of my friends' journey as well. I did want to give a shout out to the Summit of Bilingual Parents that recently happened on Saturday. Carolina was also in attendance. I attended and I was so moved by the overall message, which I think needs to be a part of this conversation of transforming our schools and giving principals leadership opportunity, that our parents need to be and must have a role in what their students' education looks like and what their school communities look like. And I don't want that to be lost as we try to give opportunities to administrators, to teachers. Sometimes our parents don't know a whole lot about education, but they know that it's important, and their experience and what they bring to the table, although different, is just as valuable, and they want to be a part of this community that we're building for their kids. So a huge shout out to our Filipino teachers. They performed at the celebration or ceremony that they had during our luncheon as well, and I see them, I hear them, and I actually want to own something that I had said about wanting to look to Mexico and the consulate to get teachers from there, but to recognize that the teachers who are here from overseas, from the island, from Spain, that you're just as valuable, and I do recognize the work that they are doing to try to reach their students, because they are incredible math teachers, they are incredible science teachers, and there is maybe a language or cultural barrier sometimes, but they do contribute so much in sharing to the community here in Waukegan. And just to share condolences as well to the people who we've lost. I feel like we hear a lot about people not being from the community in our programs or as part of our staff, but a lot of them are, and they do incredible work. And when things hit us like this, I think it's already been said that we need to be there to support, and maybe sometimes we don't know how to support, but that their name and their work and the students that they impact are embraced during this time too. So my thoughts are with some of those families.
Mr. Riddle.
Yes, I would just like to thank all of our teachers. They do a marvelous job. I would just read a quote from, there's so many good things about teachers in our society, but here's one from Dorothy Dix. It says, "The duties of a teacher are neither few nor small, but they elevate the mind and give energy to the character." And I know all our teachers do this day in and day out, and we thank you so much for what you do. Thank you.
Mr. McBride.
Yeah, kudos to the teachers. I would just say the teachers are more than teachers. They're parents and teachers, because they get our kids 8 hours a day, while the mothers and stuff is working and the dads is working. So I think the teachers spend more time sometime with the kids than the parents does. But last graduation, I sat on that stage and my heart was torn, because during the graduation time, we have very few African Americans graduating out of the 900 students. I think if we do 50, we're doing good. But what tore my heart up was I didn't see anybody on stage that had any recognition that they had was able to be exemplary, doing something special in the district for the whole year. Nobody was there. And I think this year, I don't know who's going to go out there and find somebody that's doing something that's intelligent enough for them to be sitting on stage to be recognized as an African American person, whether it be male or female. But my heart was torn because I didn't see anybody at all. I mean, from sitting on the stage with me, with the students, nor any out there that was being recognized, period. So I hope that staff is listening to me, because I know there is somebody out there that has some charisma enough to be recognized. Thank you.
Ms. Hannah.
First, I'd like to say thank you to everyone that sent prayers and thoughts to me while I went through my challenge. I would just like to share with you all that I am cancer-free. And I just would also like to stress to each and every one of you that go to the doctor, get screened. You can walk around and you could have that nasty thing in your body and you don't even know it. So just go and get screened. I missed a lot while I was gone, and those of you that know me over the years, I hate missing meetings because when I was out, I did look at the meetings, but I did not participate. I wasn't able to, but I did. It bothered me. There were 2 meetings, and the board approved millions and millions of dollars. And what bothered me more so than anything, not the fact that the millions of dollars through all of the agenda items were approved, but, and if I'm wrong, board, please tell me, but I did not hear any board member ask any questions about those millions of dollars being spent. We transferred $35 million of education money into capital improvements. Again, I did not hear any questions. And so I'm not used to that. And that is something that I will double back with the superintendent about and put forth the questions that I would have asked had I been here. But that being as it is, teachers, I love you. I support you. You are appreciated not just on Teacher Appreciation Week, but appreciation 365 days. And I thank all of you for what you do. You hardworking people, you are here because you want to be here, and I thank you for that, for wanting to help our children. And I think that's it at this point, but I just want to say thank each and every one of you. Thank you.
Ms. Lindsay.
To echo that sentiment, of course, happy Teacher Appreciation Week. As we have teachers come to the podium, as teachers reach out to us individually on the board, as we see teachers leaving this district, it's a hard job. You know, you guys went through a lot, we all did, but you guys went through a lot during the pandemic, and now you're trying to pick up the pieces in your classrooms, and that's a huge undertaking and not to be taken lightly. I hope that with my tenure on the board, I can help shift to where you're feeling like you're not seen, you're feeling like you're not supported, you're feeling like you're not being heard, to shift that culture and climate so that we can get on a better track for you. Because like Ms. Hannah said, it is 365. It is 365, and you're greatly valued and needed, and we need to ensure that you feel it. I do want to touch on also the Little Fort Carnival that happened on Saturday. Thank you to Ms. Copen. You were the spearhead, and it was a successful event. I know a lot of work went into it. A lot of people were reaching out to the community. The classes put together baskets for the raffles. We had GPTO members come to volunteer their time to run the games. I did tickets. Hopefully you won a raffle basket. It was a lot of effort, and it was a community event. It was not just a Little Fort event. Anyone could come and enjoy, and I think that was one of the most beautiful things to see. It went off spectacularly, so I'm excited to see it go on for more years to come. We do have a couple of other carnivals at local schools that are happening this week. I unfortunately can't attend them, but if you're a parent or a community member and you're invited, go. It's a great experience. I also want to say that in response to some of the concerns, especially by Ms. Fulton, we're not attending, or administration's not attending some of these events. So I think it might be beneficial to have a singular location where a community member, administrator, staff can see everything that's going on, the good and the bad, so that we know I have this one place to go to. There's a funeral that I need to pay my respects to. There is a ceremony to honor someone that I would like to attend. So if we have a central location, it would better help the community get to those. But I do look forward to the administration making a better effort. With that, I want to round out with 2 more points. Mother's Day is Sunday. So to all of the mothers out there, all of the hopeful mothers, all of the mothers that unfortunately couldn't be, my heart is with you. Happy Mother's Day. Thank you for all you do. For all of the grieving mothers, you will always hold a special place in the heart. That's a big weight to bear, and I couldn't imagine being in those shoes. To the dads who fill that mother role, you're included. Don't get me now. And I think with that, because we do have so many grieving mothers in our community, as we're looking at what happened this past year and as we're going into next year, we really need to make safety first. And I know gun violence is very big in the community, and we had people talking about it, but we know what the source of that is. It's lack of resources, it is poverty, it is poor education, it's limited opportunity. And I'm excited to help create a clearer path to reduce that by providing those for our students in this district and for our families in this district. So as we venture on to thinking of what we're going to do next school year, that I think needs to be central to the conversation. Safety needs to come first. We need safe students, we need safe staff. That's how they're gonna learn, that's how they're gonna progress. Thank you for my first board meeting. Hopefully I did you proud. That's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Lindsay. Ms. Fabian?
So I'm going to try to be brief out of respect of time. Again, happy Teachers Appreciation Week. I know as a teacher, I've often been mistakenly called mom, so happy Mother's Day as well to all of our teachers who do play mom in the classroom as well. Also, condolences to Nemo's family. My son did go to school with her and shared some really beautiful memories. Unfortunately, this is the 5th classmate that he was close to that has passed away, and he only graduated 3 years ago. So it has been very difficult, and so I understand, we're all angry, but we need to come together as a community, and I'm hoping that families take this time to really talk about the gun violence issues and how we can better work through our challenges and when we have just some heavy issues. The other point I want to make is Adriana touched upon it. The Illinois State Board of Education, along with some other entities, had their bilingual parent advisory committee summit. We did have a group of Waukegan parents attend, so thank you to those parents who took a day out of their busy Saturday schedules to come out and attend that. It was great. I had the honor of introducing our new superintendent, and he's been really advocating for that parent voice and really to communicate out. But I also want to thank the Filipino teachers. As Adriana said, they did dance. They did a nice couple of routines. They were very well received. But I want to highlight their willingness, and they volunteered to do so. So they got no compensation to do this, and they came out with all their energy and full force. And again, the fact that they took time out of their busy Saturday to come and just showcase and highlight the great, amazing things that our Waukegan teachers do, right, is to contribute and share their culture. So I want to thank the Filipino teacher dance troupe for coming out and volunteering for that event. And then I also want to just remind everybody that the middle school music concert was today, but also will continue tomorrow at 6:30 at the Genesee Theater.
Yeah, so I'll wrap up. I want to say thank you to everybody that came out. I was not remiss. I wanted to take the final moments to be my thank you to school teachers. A few years ago when we came back, I gave the story where the schools opened back up, and the cheers and the celebrations and the yelling, and I don't even think, some parents hit the brakes as they pulled up into that drop-off line. Is because we understand what our teachers go through on a daily basis, the sacrifices that they make. Much of who I am, I owe to Waukegan Public Schools and our educators, right? They gave me my first opportunities to be heard. They gave me my first opportunities to be seen. They supported me and encouraged me through my entire high school experience. And so I thank Waukegan Public School teachers. I want to close with something I got to experience this weekend is at my place of worship. There was a passing of the torch, right? A long-time pastor who'd been a pastor for 40 years was stepping down, and there was a new leadership that was coming in. And one of the things that they discussed is how sometimes nostalgia can be the enemy of vision. And when we talk about where we want to go and what we want to do as a district, I want us to kind of, as this board, to really do a deep dive, as Ms. Hannah said, as to where we are, right? What's our SWOT analysis of the last year, the last 2 years, the last 6 years? But where are we going, right? Not where have we been? Because what I will tell you is where we've been has not worked for everybody, right? When people say, let's go back to the way it was before the pandemic, the way it was before the pandemic was not great for everybody. So what I would like us to do is to, as a board, cast a vision, hit that reset, pass that torch, so that we can start to do the things that I heard Ms. Lindsay mention, and start to do the things that I heard Mr. McBride talk about, right? Is those individuals that's sitting on that podium are top 10 students, as well as our elected office holders, right? So if we want to see more African Americans on that stage, then not just go and find them. We want to make sure that they are competing at the top levels with every student, is because they are capable, they're beyond competent, they are intelligent and brilliant, and we have to do a better job of developing and cultivating that. So I would encourage all of us. One of the things that we're also talking about is, to Ms. Hannah's point, is we need to focus on reading. If our kids cannot read, they cannot achieve. Superintendent is aware of that. We know it. That has to be an intentional focus. So I do look forward to the full report on one of the goals, which was specifically targeted around African American male students in the district, and for that to come forward. So I thank everybody for coming out tonight. I do apologize about the length. We are finding our groove, and we will. But thank you to each and every one of you. With that, I'd like for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. McBride.
Second.
Oh.
One more group of people that are overlooked in the school district right now is also Nurses Week.
Yes.
And
Oh.
nurses are valuable in our district, so shout out to
Nurses are
Ms.
necessary,
Hannah.
and frontline workers. I allowed it because I knew where you were going. That was charged to my head, not my heart. We got a motion for Mr. McBride. Do we got a second?
Second.
Second for Ms. Lindsay. All in favor signify with aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, nay. Meeting is adjourned.